Da-da-da. Alrighty. If only I didn't have a bunch of meddling kids around, then my evil plan could be brought to fruition. I'm just gonna start saying dumb shit until I start seeing people come on. That's what we're gonna do to open these. So you never know what it is that I'm going to say at the beginning of one of these lives anymore. Because I've lost my fucking mind. But thank you guys for stopping in, hanging out. I would have gotten away with it. Yeah, you caught it, did you? But you're one of those meddling kids, Raymond. Speaking of Mr. Raymond, as people are coming in for the topic tonight, go fuck yourself too, Raymond. Speaking of Mr. Raymond, we are having a trainee weekend this weekend at the local event, the Central Kentucky Mystical Market. It's going down Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 6 on Saturday and 12 to 5 on Sunday. 10 to 5, excuse me. 10 to 5 on Saturday and 12 to 5 on Sunday. So, but we are having a trainee weekend. It'll be me, Dustin, Mr. Raymond Newsom himself, and Steve Tyree. And we'll be doing the thing at the booth. Come by, give the trainees a bunch of shit, put them through their paces. Some of you guys have been, with us since the get-go. Come by and see what the new guys are all about. I'm pretty sure that they'll surprise you, actually. But all jokes aside, we're be there Saturday. Just remember you promised. Oh, jeez. See my beard on camera and it's like everywhere. But that's going down this weekend. Also, we've been doing some cool stuff with the shop and at the shop. If you are interested, you can always come by and see us. We're at 1510-1510 Newtown Pike in Lexington, Kentucky. Just 2 lights down from where we're going to be having the local event. That's going to be at the Clarion Convention Center North, which is literally 2 lights up. But we've got a bunch of deals on stuff. We've got a bunch of new stuff in that some of you haven't seen. And the ladies have been doing their best to provide you guys with good stuff at good prices. So, holiday gift ideas, we got them. And anything that you need in the meantime, spell kits, altar supplies, tarot cards, oracle cards, incenses, we've got tons of it. Come on by, see us. Also, did you know, fun fact, did you know that we also do energy workshops and classes? Those are going to be starting again in January in some capacity. Now, the main curriculum may not be starting again until February, since we currently don't have a date set in January to start over with the regimen. But we are in January going to start implementing some of the new classes, which are going to be held by people who are outside of the Spirit Mechanics team. So we will be having things from Miss Christina Joy, who will be teaching runes. Mr. Ken Boggle himself will be teaching tarot. We have classes lined up from Joni Kahn and Seneca, and Mr. Tyree. We've also got some special things in the works to do things like drum circles. Joanna Dickey, who is a very good and very well-known shamanic healer. She is wanting to do drum circles, so why not? We've got the space. We'll do the thing. So we've got a bunch of stuff coming up, and once we get it scheduled, we will be letting you guys know, and we're looking forward to having a bunch of new people, a bunch of new faces, all kinds of cool stuff. Hello from the frozen Great North. I hope it is definitely warmer in Kentucky, I can promise you. I can promise you that. But we will be starting the 200 series here very soon. For those that took the 100 series of classes, so the basics of metaphysics, we are about ready to get into the intermediate stuff. And the intermediate stuff is where shit gets fun, but shit gets complicated. So you need to be prepared for it. We are going to be doing investigative classes at some point, yes. Somebody like Raymond Newsom, that fuck, might be teaching some of that. Cough. But yeah, those are being worked out to do the thing. The big thing that we're wanting to do is we want to have these classes, at least the investigative classes, we're wanting to, cough. We're wanting to have these investigative classes fairly close together. And the reason being is we're going to try. Now, notice how I said try. We're going to try and have an actual haunted location set up for you guys to go and test out what it is that you learned. We want to make sure that we have that, or at least something that could be used in order before we start those classes, because we want you guys to be able to test things out. You know, to go have fun and hang out with us and do the ghost hunt thing and get your investigation on. Let's see. You're going to notice that the team itself is a little bit slower during this month than we are any other month of the year. The reason being, December is a family month. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of travel going on. There's a lot of stuff to do. And this is usually our month for reflection and recharging. So we usually don't take many cases on in December, and we are very lax with our responses. This does not mean that we are ignoring you. Someone will get to you, we promise. And it does not mean that your case doesn't hold water with us. It just means that it's going to need to wait. We can't guarantee that all of our members are going to be available, at least the ones that are needed for the case in particular. And we also have a bunch of people that work 9 to 5s, and some of them work retail. So this time of year is nearly impossible for them to get off. So that's pretty much what's going on. But we also do energy work and readings and a multitude of other things. We can do these things over the phone, over video, or in person. If you would like to have a session with any of the mechanics, all you have to do is fill out the contact info on the website. Go to spiritmechanics.com. Hi, my name is this, and I would like to have a session with so-and-so to have this done. It's that simple. If you want to do the thing for the market, you know, you want to come up and see us, hang out with us, get your chakras did, all you have to do, come on Facebook, leave us a message. Go to the website, leave us a message. Just let us know. That's all you got to do. Simple as that. Alrighty. I think that's about enough jawing. The forecast will be live tomorrow. It is going to be later. I like doing things a little bit later in the evening. It makes sure that everybody has gotten their day done and, there's no bullshitting around. Yeah, sure, man. He's talking about some new investigation equipment that he has procured. But if anybody needs anything, you know the deal. All you have to do is let us know. Some of you, at least most of you, have us either on Facebook or even our personal number. So all you got to do is ask. Alrighty. So now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes here. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this, one, we recently had a very interesting situation, we'll say. And two is it's becoming more commonplace. At least it's more noticeable. Let's put it that way. People have this tendency to really misunderstand what a thought form is. A lot of times people are like, well, you're calling it a thought form, so you think I'm crazy. Well, no, if you're batshit nuts, you're batshit nuts. This is something completely different. So, the big thing here is there is mental instability. Now, Brian and I have covered this a couple of different ways, a couple of different times. But we have mental instability. Mental instability comes from things like severe depression, comes from things like anxiety, PTSD, things of that nature. It makes the mental space completely unstable. Now, this can make you hyper aware. It can also make you hyper aware of dumb shit. In other words, you may notice that the faucet is dripping all the way on the other side of the house, and you also may hyperfixate on a shadow being cast by a coat hanging on the wall. Does that mean that you're crazy? No, it doesn't. It means that you are under some extremely high stress and you are very excitable. Is that a thought form? No. That is actually brought on by environmental changes. Things that change in life that we have yet to adapt to. Then we have mental illness. This is different. This is something akin to microburst headaches, different types of epilepsy. And when I say mental illness in this case, it's what results from the seizure, not the seizure itself. The seizures themselves are neurological issues. We're talking about the aftermath. The aftershocks can cause mental illness depending on how the brain is being disrupted. Wanted to make myself clear so that people aren't like, oh, you're a fucking idiot. Schizophrenia is a big one. Severe insomnia is actually a big one. Now this is a situation that can cause actual hallucinations, not just hyperfixation on things that aren't there, but the belief that there is something there that is not there. Legitimate hallucinations. To the person having said hallucination, they can be very vivid and very real and seem incredibly dangerous. However, they are just images. The brain trying to find the proper information and not being able to, and filling in the gaps. A certain offshoot which is a between the mental instability and mental illness, is something that is referred to as pareidolia. Every single fucking one of us has and will have a moment of pareidolia. It is something that happens on a constant basis. For some people, it's more so than others, but it constantly happens. We do it all the time. This is where, and some people may have heard it called matrixing. It's basically where your eyes scan and they see images where there are none. You know, this is where you get the whole thing of the girl seeing the Virgin Mary in her grilled cheese. Yes, that was a real case. People seeing certain types of phenomena when it's a cloud, literally a cloud, I swear to you it's a cloud. But for some people, they see a saucer, they see a spaceship, they see, you know, some kind of Zeppelin or flying machine. It's where you have, say you have a wood floor or a wooden door or wood paneling if you're in a double wide, something like that, and all of a sudden you see a face in the wall. Well, when you look again, you blink and you look again, the face is gone. It's pareidolia. There's a shadow there that we were unaware of, and the brain goes, why is there being a shadow cast where we weren't aware of it? There has to be something there, doesn't there? Let's figure out what will fit in this hole. That's literally what pareidolia is. We do this shit all the time. I thought I saw that, but I guess I didn't. I thought I heard something, but I guess I didn't. Pareidolia is something that everybody fucking goes through. Is it a thought form? No. Is it an entity? No. But it can actually be brought on by mental instability, just the shock, the pressure, the stress. You're walking through, you notice something that you haven't noticed before, and instantly it's a problem. But those are the three basic layers of things. You can also get into things like EMR, the electromagnetic radiation, which is basically just a flooding of electromagnetism. Unshielded wiring, faulty fuse boxes. Notice that word fuse. Frayed wires and breakers. You know, there's a bunch of things that can cause that. A bunch of appliances in one room. Yeah, it can. It can make the best artwork, actually. That can also cause things like, radon and CO2, heavy lines over a building. You know, there's a number of environmental things that can also cause hallucinations and pareidolia. Here's the difference. Now we're actually bridging into thought forms. Here's the difference. A thought form is not psychosomatic. Let me repeat that. A thought form is not psychosomatic. It is not a figment of your imagination. A thought form is literally a mental projection of either A, the emotion that you refuse to let go of or express, or a trauma that you have refused to heal from. Notice that word refused as well. I didn't say haven't yet. I didn't say weren't in the process of. I said refused. Thought forms, unlike other entities, and unlike, demonics, whatever, they only affect the person. They only affect the person that created it. Quote-unquote disembodied voices, which are actually just intrusive thoughts. Most of the time, that brings up, the specific trauma or the specific emotion, or there's something that rattles around as it speaks that causes you to hit that emotion that you didn't want to let go of. And it drives it in like a stake. These things don't need to feed. They don't give a shit where you are. They don't give a shit what time of day it is, because they are a projection of your mind. They aren't something that you experience due to an instability or an illness. They are a projection of the shit you try to hide. Specifically from yourself, more so than other people. Thought forms can only be gotten rid of once this trauma or root emotion is resolved. In other words, you can call literally the super friends of metaphysics, and every single one of them will do everything in their power Shaman man is going to call the ancients, and witch girl is going to call the elements, and alchemist man is going to make, they're going to do their thing. We're going to get to that, Renee. They're going to do their thing as best they can, and it's not going to do a fucking bit of good. If you're expecting a magic bullet with a thought form case, good luck. Yeah, we are, Raymond. He says the Dark Justice League. Yeah. That's pretty much us. Thought forms mainly antagonize and say hurtful things and scary things. They keep you from sleeping. They keep you from, social engagement. They force you into an alienation, not necessarily isolation, alienation. There is a difference. Isolation is there's no fucking body else around. Whereas alienation is you withdrawing from. You making the choice to back away. Whereas isolation is, for whatever rhyme or reason, you are the only person around. Thought forms can be dangerous if they're left for too long and not dealt with. The reason why is pretty fucking obvious. If they mess with sleep cycles, that can really put a damper on mental health. It can also put a damper on physical health. They, in the long run, can be dealt with very easily. The way to deal with a thought form is to talk to a parapsychologist and then continue therapy after that. Because once that root cause is found, identified outwardly, notice how I'm putting that. It's identified outward. It's externalized. once it is externalized, that motherfucker goes poof. Very quick and in a hurry. However, there is such a fucking stigma. You know, God love you guys in the comments here, the ones that are, you know, because I'm catching some of them as they pass. And I'll go back and read some of your comments before we go on to the next segment. But God love you guys, the ones that are promoting therapy. There is such a fucking stigma with going and getting yourself actually figured out. You know, people want these things, these thought forms, they want them to be purely paranormal and have somebody come in and get rid of them, when in fact it's not something anybody can help get rid of. The best anybody can do is give you a little bit of peace of mind until that thought form decides to start picking again. There's no treatment that will last, and there's nobody who's going to be able to get that done properly. Notice how I put that, properly. You know, you can... I'm an alchemist. Hi. We can break down a thought form, turn it right back into energy. However, what's going to happen if the person that we're doing this for chooses not to accept responsibility? It's going to come right the fuck back. Spells can be cast, such as bindings. Sure, you can bind it. It'll cease to interact for a little bit. It'll still be there. It'll just cease to interact with you for a minute. Then, as soon as you go, oh, it's gone, and that one intrusive thought hits again, it's going to be right back. Because a binding doesn't dissipate an entity. It removes its ability to do much of anything. Binding, in the actual sense, means that it is bound. It's tied up. It's restricted. It's restrained. That is literally the best that a spell can do. But as soon as you give it credence, just one little iota of thought, it's literally like giving it the keys to the handcuffs and saying you're free. Do what you want. Therapy is needed. Any fucking metaphysician worth their salt, I don't care what practice they are, what faith they are, how long they've been doing the thing, anybody worth their salt is going to prescribe fucking therapy for a thought form. Ask me if I'm bitter, because I just might be. Thought forms are nothing to shake a stick at. They're not something to take lightly either. For the person who is experiencing said thought form, it is a nightmare in waking hours. However, you not only have to want it gone, you have to do the work yourself. The only thing that anybody else can do for a thought form is to just pacify the situation until you do. Not everything can be solved through energy work and spells. Sometimes it takes elbow grease and a little bit of gear turning. Kills me. All right. Gonna look at some of y'all's comments because I missed a bunch of them. What about pain eating? Lisa Snyder, if you're still here, pain eating is not a thought form. And I'll get to that in just a sec. There we go. I need you to roll. This is about poltergeist and unintentional thought forms, but tulpas and servitors or agregori are intentional. No, they're not. Not in the sense that we're talking about anyway. And no, I'm not speaking of them yet. Servitors are the only ones of those that would actually be 100% all the time intentional. The other two can happen even if it's not wanted, and we're going to get into that. Pain eating, the big thing about pain eating, or sin eating, depending on who you talk to, personal shadow work, what you're actually doing, the person has reconciled these things with themselves already. This is what has happened to me. This is the trauma that has happened to me. This is the wrong I have done. Whatever the situation may be, they've taken their part of the responsibility. They've taken their selves out of that particular equation at that point because they know what it is that either they have caused or the thing that has been holding them back. What pain eating does is it relieves the rest of that burden. It balances the equation out. So you are removing the excess pain, the excess hurt, the excess, issue. Let's see. It's hard finding a good therapist, though. I agree. I asked mine to help me start a shadow work journey, and she didn't know what it was. And it's true, sometimes it is difficult. It took me a minute. Not going to lie there. It took me a minute. Renee says, COVID made me sit and think about shit and stop bullshit with myself. I got tired. I agree. And I'm not laughing at you. I'm giggling because it's like, all right, chick, let's get it. And I agree with Raymond. Therapy typically helps with shadow work in their own standardized kind of way. Where is the... Where is the thing? I'm just trying to see your comment, Raymond. It's not wanting to cooperate, dude. There we go. Because they help dig you into the trauma at the root of the issue. Absolutely. Heavy lifting on the said person if they want to be better. Absolutely. Get it together. Fuck you, Raymond. All right. Now, going into things such as tulpas. Tulpas can be intentional. They can be. What we're talking about right now is just the progression. Once we're through the progression, then we can talk about the parts that are actually intentional, the things that people do intentionally to create a certain situation. Words aren't your friend, but rum is. Oh, if only. But, so the progression of a thought form can actually turn into a tulpa. And once again, this isn't something that is intentional. The person doesn't intend for a thought form to emerge from a projection of torn up emotions. Feeding those particular emotions to a point to where it can solidify. It can find substance within itself. As soon as you start to identify yourself by the emotions you created said thought form with, you can create a tulpa. It is a progression, an evolution. Tulpas act completely, individually, of the person that created them. However, the only way to actually get rid of a tulpa properly is for the person to do what? To reconcile the particular emotion or trauma that created it in the first place. Now, you can, with a tulpa, call in the metaphysical super friends, and they can take care of it, just like any other entity, because it is separate from you. However, if you're prone to making thought forms and feeding tulpas, you're just going to make another one if you don't handle the problem. Now, tulpas have been used a lot, especially in Eastern practices. Shaolin used it a lot. People who study wushu. There are a whole lot of Hindi that actually use a similar process. Basically, what a tulpa is it's the part of yourself that you really don't want even you to know about. So in order for these monks to achieve a tranquility within themselves, a particular type of enlightenment, they will sit in meditation until they form their own tulpa, and they will sit and converse with it. They will literally sit there and have tea with their tulpa. Explain to me why I feel this way. Explain to me why we still suffer the way we do. Explain it to me. They will literally sit there and talk to their tulpa. Tulpas can be intentional. That's not something I suggest for anybody to fucking do. Period. But it can be an intentional thing. Looking into egregores. Egregores can both be, once again, both be intentional and unintentional. A church can create an egregore. a church can create an egregore. There is enough thought and belief and a particular emotion put into a single idea at a single location. You can create a fucking egregore at a church. Likewise, you can also create an egregore through mass hysteria. Just look at what happens on most ghost hunts. Notice how I said ghost hunt and not paranormal investigation. Yes, there is a difference. Most ghost hunts. Something just touched me. Oh, what touched me too? Oh, well, I'm feeling this now. Oh, well, what about this thing that's touching my hair? Well, it didn't touch my hair. It touched my hand. Well, it pulled my shirt. Mass hysteria can cause an egregore. Because guess what an egregore is? When you literally just break it down. It is a thought form created in mass that has grown to a tulpa sentience. That's, at the end of the day, yes, there's a multitude of definitions. Yes, people aren't going to like my explanation. I get it. This is from my personal experience and my personal research. But that is, at the end of the day, what an egregore is. Egregores can actually be very potent. They can be very loving, very benevolent. They can be very approachable. Yes. Well, Slender Man, actually, yeah. Slender Man technically could be considered an egregore, technically. By definition, yeah. He's more of a tulpa in action, but he is technically an egregore because he wound up being a severely heavy internet sensation for like 5EVER, and then supposedly started to fuck around with people's mentality and telling them to do things and all this other stuff, when in fact there's no proof that a Slender Man particularly actually exists. So yeah, technically he kind of skirts that line between tulpa and egregore, but he would be, I guess you could consider him an egregore. Now looking at servitors. Servitors are 110%. 110%. The biggest percentile you can come up with intentional. Servitors, as the name suggests, are actually conjured. They are conjured beings. They are created through spell work and specific mentality. That is 110% how that one is. I saw a question from Allied about altars being tulpas. That one is a little bit different. That one's a little bit different. Because altars are different sides of yourself, at least as far as who you are as a whole person. Whereas a tulpa are these are the things that you hate about yourself. The things that you hide from others. The things that you try to hold in. Pretty much the negative repression. That's what that is. There is a very distinct difference there. And I heard somebody That's neat. I saw somebody mention Black Eyed Kids. Black Eyed Kids, These are an actual entity. They are their own thing. They are not Tulpa, they are not Egregore, Servitor, Thought Form. They are a legitimate, actually corporeal entity. This is the closest thing to the boogeyman possible. And I'm being very serious. I don't fuck around when a case involves BKs. I don't. Yes, they can be dealt with just like any other one. But that's pretty much what's going on. Let's see here. Don't do it. I'm blind and trying to run my own comments. Fuck me. Alright, there we go. Not the same, Raymond says not the same thing as what I do. My connections are not servitors, but something very different. I know exactly what you do, Raymond. And no, they're not servitors. But no, these are servants, as the name suggests. Servitors are a literal conjured being. And they do simple tasks. Some things can do very complex tasks, but they can only do that complex task. Or you can have them do multiple tasks that are rudimentary. That's pretty much what a servitor is. Now, notice that there is a common theme with all of these that I'm talking about, outside of servitors, because we've established that those things are conjured. Because if we keep going, we're going to get way off the fucking nut and start talking about shit like, familiars and things like that, which are something completely different from any of this. Going back into it, notice that there is a common denominator with all of these fucked up fractions. And that is the need for the person to have a calm and steady mental state in order to actually move forward and get away from these situations. Things like Egregores are a little bit harder. The reason why is, especially around here, you've got a lot of itty bitty out in the fucking sticks churches, and their church is everything. Now, I'm going to go across the board, so nobody get upset that I'm talking about churches. I've got to throw that disclaimer. I'm an ex-Methodist minister. I've done the thing for most of my life. I will be getting on with different things. But the whole thing is that mentality, that traditionalist mentality of it's got to be this way, it's got to do it this way, you have to do it this way, or God won't love you. Notice that particular mindset. If it's not just so, God won't love you. You're always a sinner. You're always a sinner. You're always going to be a sinner. You were born a sinner. You're going to die a sinner unless you come right here to this altar. Notice a particular mentality. God is one. God is oneness, and God is love in all shapes and fashions. Love is something that everyone can enjoy, everyone can feel, and everyone can give freely. And this is the reason why God is in and around us in all things. Guess what my sermons were about? But notice a specific mentality. When you hear the same sermon multiple times a month that are the literal exact same thing over the exact same topic with the exact same result, you are going to force a particular mentality within your congregation that is going to have them believe that in order to appease God, there has to be a certain set of circumstances met. When those circumstances are met and when they are given credit, they're given kudos. I'm proud of my congregation for that. This church wouldn't be what it is without my congregation. When you start doing that, that is what creates the egregore. Because what happens is that ingrained mentality is now being rewarded. So now anything past that is feeding that particular mentality. If more than one person in a set situation has the same mindset and does the same things for the same reasons, it can cause a chain reaction that can create an egregore. Just like certain types of pagan gatherings, certain types of witch covens, certain types of, lodges and orders and all this other stuff. Any of them can create an egregore. The interesting thing about an egregore, and this is, and I'm getting into that right now, Linda. She's asking what an egregore does in that situation. What happens when you start to create this egregore in those environments and you receive that acknowledgement, even if it's just acknowledgement, but you receive that particular acknowledgement of, I'm doing this. My God, goddess, patron, whatever is happy with me because I'm doing these things. The person that is facilitating this tells me so. You get a particular sensation. Most people would call it a dopamine rush because technically that's what it is. The reward center of your brain goes derp derp, and you wind up getting a bunch of reward hormones that make you feel amazing. I did the thing, hooray. But when you have an ingrained, taught mentality like that, it goes from being what it is, you getting a cookie for doing your chores, to this feeling that is overcoming me. This feeling that is flowing within me. The lightheadedness and the weightlessness that I feel is all due to this. And then the egregore feeds. Are you actually, in these situations, speaking to your flavor of the divine? There's an easy way to know. And the best way to know is when you feel more like yourself than you ever have. Not something that is outside of you pushing inward, but something that is inside of you pushing out. That's how you know. Once again, based off of the particular thought process that an egregore was created with, it can be a benevolent feeling. It can be, a very nurturing feeling that it gives off. However, that's just what it's emitting. The true intentions of an egregore is just to feed. It's something that has been created off of multiple mindsets in the same direction. So it needs to continue those particular mindsets in order to survive. It's kind of a sad situation. It really is. The egregore didn't ask to be brought into existence, but it was literally brought into existence, and now it's afraid to go. It's surviving. It has its own mind. It has its own way of working. It has its own flow of energy. Because it was created through a mental process. And just like anything else that is created with a human mentality, it fears death. Same thing with tulpas. They fear death. Same thing with thought forms. They fear death. Servitors don't give a fuck, because half the time, when they're done with their chore, they're sent away or destroyed. But, for anybody who has seen Rick and Morty, servitors are literally Mr. Meeseeks. The fan? Why? The ceiling fan? Did it do something? I'm just asking, because I'm actually intrigued. But these are things to honestly think about. Keeps on slowing down and stopping. Huh. Neat. Noticed it slowing down. It may be off balance, truthfully. Because, it's going the same speed. I think most likely it has something to do with the frame rate on the video capture for the Facebook Live, if we're being really honest. Don't think it's a fan. Yeah. I wonder what's going on then. It does that all the time in every video. I think it's an illusion. Yeah. Which is really weird that I'm having that kind of a lag Must be. That's weird. I mean, I'm 100% right here, so I'm wondering what's going on. Because that's part of what I've been doing, why I've been a little bit distracted, is I'm making sure that everything's functioning correctly since I'm using the phone. And so far, there's no drop in bandwidth. There's no issue with connectivity. So I don't know what's going on. But, you know, it's a fan. As it's said here in the comments, it's hypnotic sometimes depending on where your gaze falls. Yeah. It's a fan. You know, same thing as when you stare at it for long enough, you'll actually watch it go backwards, even though it's not. But notice this thing, this common denominator of it being the mindset. Does this mean that everybody who has some form of mental instability or some form of mental illness is going to create something as raw as a tulpa or egregore? Absolutely not. It doesn't mean that at all. Does it mean that there's a potential for it? Yeah, but it's slight. Basically, what creates thought forms in the get-go is the inability to deal with the fact that you either A, survived, or B, are still going through a specific trauma. Does this mean that I'm like, hey, you know, anybody who is suffering is the cause of all this shit and they're an asshole and whatever? No, absolutely not. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do in order to make it through. Sometimes you got to push yourself in a direction that you didn't think you would. But in the cases of thought forms that progress through, love y'all so much. But that's what I was talking about with frame rate, where I'm not moving nearly as quickly as the fan is. It's going to pick more of me up, whereas the fan is in constant motion. So you're seeing where the frame rate is clipping. But here is a huge difference too. There is a time in your life that you are going to have to find it within yourself to move in that direction that you never thought you would. For the specific reason of actually progressing through life. And that is forward. Those that decide that they are not going to let their trauma define them. Those that decide that they may not be able to do it alone and they need to go find psychological or even psychiatric help. Those that find that particular ability to release it, not forgive it, not forget it, but release it. Those who go above and beyond and have the ability to forgive it, but not forget it. These are the people that move forward. These are the people that usually don't have the issue with thought forms or any form of, progression along those lines. Usually when you see someone that has thought forms, it's someone else's fault. It can't be anything that they did, or anything that they haven't dealt with, or anything that they've repressed. It's someone else's fault. It's a curse. It's a witch. It's a hex. It's, all these things. It's got to be. It's got to be something else. It can't be me. 9 times out of 10, someone with the thought form will be that person. And usually with a thought form, it will be, you fix it for me. Yeah, it's a demon. Raymond's comment, it's a demon. Oh, absolutely. Allied says, it's amazing the fear behind accountability. Absolutely. Shut up, Zach. Ayo Demons, it's your boy. Fucking idiot. Anyway. But yeah, that's usually what you find. You fix it for me. That comes in so hard, so hot and heavy. Oh my goodness. Someone has to fix this for me. Out of all the thought form cases I have been on, and I tell you there have actually been hundreds. I'm not exaggerating. Out of all the thought form cases I've been on, not one of them has not said that. You fix it for me, because there's no way that I had anything to do with it. Oh. Kills me. Kills me. It does. But that, ladies and gents, should be enough of a at least beginner breakdown. We can go into this stuff more in depth if that's what you guys want at a later date. The thing that I'm going to say now is along these particular lines, and it is, the last little bit I said was a little bit of a segue, and that is, understand that when you ask people to come in and handle paranormal activity, understand that you will have your part to play. You will have your homework to do. You will have shit to take care of. Do not expect the paranormal team to handle your shit for you when it is your life, your home, and your health. They're there to act as a guide. They're there to provoke a change. They're there to help you. Notice that word help. Help you reclaim what is yours. But to tell them that they have to do it 100%, that's bullshit. There's no magic bullet. And the less that you decide to do, the more you're going to wind up dealing with. It's simple. It really is. And it was that comment of there's a lot of fear and accountability that brought this up. Whether it's a thought form, whether it's an actual entity, whether it's a demon, whether it's just something like a fey or an elemental. 8,000 reasons why I need to. Hey Renee, you got 200. You got 200 stars towards your 8,000 stars. But it's that whole situation of you can only help those that want to help themselves. I'm sure that's Raymond. No magic bullet. We can Dr. Manhattan all day, but you got to keep it from returning. And that's true. We can't be at people's beck and call. You know, we can't be at everyone's beck and call. We just can't. It's just not feasible. And what I mean by that is we can't be there for every tiny little thing. You step in the shit, we'll be there to pull you out. You fall down the hole, we'll climb down and get you. But if you stub your toe on a piece of furniture that you moved yourself, we're just going to go, sorry you had a bad day. Sometimes you have to be your own hero. Yes. Very good. Teach a man to fish. You can't put it on others just because you don't want to get your hands dirty. That's another way. And that's usually what it boils down to, going back into the main topic for just a moment before I finish the live stream. And that's the reason why it usually becomes externalized. You fix it for me. You come here and do this. It's not me. You need to come do this. It's because the person doesn't want to get wrist deep in their own issue. Because then, one, that means that it is their issue. Two, that means that they have to admit to the fact that it's their issue. And three, once they admit to it, that means they actually have to do something the fuck about it. Metaphysics is not a substitute for taking the fuck care of yourself. You can't blame the world's problems on the paranormal and expect it to be the truth. Be careful with the things that you say and the things that you think. Be careful of where it is that you allow your mind to go. You guys are the ones who are in control of yourself. The only certain thing in life, at least as far as control is concerned, is one's own actions and one's own reactions. And that is the only thing in life that you can control, is you. Once you master the ability to know yourself, the rest of the world is cake. gravy, pie, whatever fatty, sugary food that you would like it to be that is a rewarding nature. Yeah. Comment here, not everything is paranormal. Sometimes it's just normal crap. Yeah. Sometimes coincidence is a real thing. Not everything is something out to get you. You guys have the ability to be something great, to do great things. So be that great person and do those great things. Greatness can be found in just living your life the way that you know how. Start breaking up those patterns that cause this kind of, honestly, paranormal sickness. That's what I equate thought forms to. Technically, it is an illness. You guys have the ability to break the patterns, to break the cycles. It's okay to have a down day, and it's okay to have a really rough time. It's okay to not know what the fuck to do, and it's all right to cry and get upset and get angry. It's natural, it's fine, it's healthy. But don't live there. And then when you've set up shop there, don't expect people to move you. It's a rough thing to do. It is. It sucks. It sucks to say that you're sorry. A lot of times it makes you sick to your stomach, and you hurt, you physically hurt, because you know, one, it's going to lead to some form of drama, or two, that you've held on to it when you should have handled it when it happened. It sucks. We all do it. Every fucking body does it. Some people on a day-to-day basis, other people, it's just on occasion, but we are all prone to be that person. Allow yourself to shine. I say that all the time. All the time. Keep shining. It's one of the newest Steve-isms. And the reason why I say that, and this will be the thing that I close on, the reason why I say that, keep shining. One of my favorite songs, like ever. It's a simple song, but Soul Shine. It was an Allman Brothers song, and the version that I like best, just personal preference, is Warren Haynes' version of Soul Shine. Listening to the lyrics of that song, you should understand why I say, keep shining. For anybody that doesn't know the song, go ahead and look it up. It's a simple blues song. But go Go ahead and look it up. Look up the lyrics. And you'll know why I always say, keep shining, especially in my personal posts. Break the cycles that bind you. Somebody needed to hear it. Apparently. Somebody needed to hear that. But all of that aside, thank you guys for hanging out with me for the short time that we've been on here. Hopefully you got something out of this. I always love doing these. You know, I hope that you guys get something out of it, that it was informative, but it wasn't boring as shit. And come see us at the market this weekend. Come check out the shop, 1510 Newtown Pike, Lexington, Kentucky. Check it out online. You know, we do the thing. And for the love of God, be cool to each other. It takes zero money, very little energy, and just a split second of time to be an awesome individual. Just do the damn thing. You know, do the damn thing and do it proper. Forecast will be live sometime tomorrow evening. And until then, and as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and remember that those that have the power to change themselves have the power to change the world around themselves. Love you guys.